Come to biology, the science study of life. The koala, an Australian marsupial, also has an enlarged cecum, where symbiotic bacteria ferment finally shredded um, eucalyptus leaves. The most elaborate adaptations for an herbivore's diet have evolved in the animals called ruminants, which include deer, cattle, and sheep. Ruminants digestion. Notice that this figure. um, the ruminant digestion, the stomach of the ruminant has four chambers. Because of the microbial action in the chambers, the diet forms um, which a ruminant actually absorbs its nutrients is much richer than the grass the animal originally ate. In fact, a ruminant eating grass or hay obtains many of its nutrients absorbed by digesting the symbiotic microorganisms which reproduce rapidly enough in the rumen to maintain a stable population. Notice that. First step. Rumen, when the cow first chews and swallows a mouthful of grass, pulses green areas. Notice that. Enter the rumen. 2. Reticulum. Some boluses also enter the reticulum in both the rumen and the reticulum. Some basic prokaryotes and protists, mainly slites, go to work on the cellulose-rich meal as byproducts of their metabolism. The microorganisms secrete fatty acids. The cow periodically regurgitate and reaches the cod red airways. Notice that. Reaches the cod, which further breaks down the fibers, making them more accessible to further microbial action. Fourth or 3-1. Okay. Omisam, the cow then reswallows the cod, the blue airways, which moves to the omisam where water is removed. Fourth one, abomisam. The cod containing great numbers of microorganisms finally passes to the obimism. Obimism go for digestion by the cow's own enzymes, black arrows. Notice that. Back to note this one also. Back to intestine. The digestive tracts of carnivore and herbivore koala compared. Although these two mammals are both the same size, the koala's intestines are much longer, and adaptations that enhances processing of fibers, protein poor eucalyptus leaves from which it obtains virtually all its food and water. Extensive chewing chops the leaves into very small pieces, increasing exposure of the food to digestive juices. The koala's cecum at 2 meters, the longest of any animal of equivalent size, functions as a fermentation chamber where symbiotic bacteria convert the shredded leaves into a more nutritious diet. Back to dentition and diet. Carnivores such as members of the dog and cat families generally have pointed incisors and canines that can be used to kill prey and rip or cut away pieces of flesh. The jagged premolars and molars crush and shred food. B, notice that. In contrast, herbivorous mammals such as horses and deer usually have teeth with broad ridged surfaces that grind tough plant material. The incisors and canines are generally modified for biting of pieces of vegetation in some herbivorous mammals. Canines are absent. 3. Humans, being omnivores adapted for eating both vegetation and meat, have a relatively unspecialized dentition. The permanent adult set of teeth is 32 in number, beginning at the midline of the upper and lower jaw, are two blade-like incisors for biting, a pointed canine for tearing, two premolars for grinding, and three molars for crushing. Notice that.